I've said this many times that you don't really strive for success, you attract it. And the way to attract success is by becoming knowledgeable, becoming more attractive to someone in the format that they're looking for that attraction, and being that one thing that they may need.
Welcome back to the Full Out Real Estate Agent. Today we have Faisal Susiwala. He is a top producing agent from the Guelph, Waterloo, Cambridge, Ontario market, just outside of Toronto. Get this, Faisal has done, last year he does about 422 ends as an individual agent. He runs a little bit differently. He has 4 assistants. He works primarily on the listing, but he actually works with buyers as well. But he is the main guy doing the 422 ends. He's doing everything with that support of the 4 assistants. So we're going to dive into his story. And he's one of the top, the top individual agent at Remax across Canada. And he's had real success. He's written a book, best-selling book as well, The Real Deal. And really excited to be able to have Faisal in today. Faisal, thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me on, Mark.
All right. Well, you know what? People look at you and it's like, Faisal is out there selling over 400 homes. He's talking with all the people himself. I want to backtrack a little bit. I want to go back to your origin story of, what got you into real estate, and maybe you could share maybe an early challenge that you had starting off.
Sure, Mark. So I was still in high school. At the age of 17, I was watching late night television, and I see a gentleman of Vietnamese background sitting on a yacht, showing beautiful homes, pulls up in a Rolls Royce, gets on his yacht, surrounded by beautiful women, and he's talking about how he made all his money selling and buying real estate. And I'm like, I want to be that guy. Of course, 17-year-old, you have big dreams. I called the 1-800 number at the time. And, of course, this is 1988. So cell phones were not a thing. So I walked over to the wall, picked up the phone. I called this 1-800 number, and it was $200 to sign up for his program. And I'm like, I can't afford this program. I just want to learn how to be rich buying and selling real estate. Yeah. So the next day, there was a catalog that arrived from the local college, Conestoga College, and it had a bunch of courses that were being offered in the summer. And I thought, okay, well, this is interesting. Let me see what's in here. And there was a real estate. It was called Introduction to Real Estate. And I'm like, bingo. I'm going to take this course on Introduction to Real Estate, and I'm going to learn how to become rich selling and buying real estate. Not even having an idea that it was a licensing course. So I go to school ends in June. I sign up July 1st week. I'm in this course, and it's a 6-week course. I'm like, okay, perfect. This is good. 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 6 weeks, 3 phases. By the second phase, I'm surrounded by, I would say older people. They were in their 40s at the time, and they're all getting their real estate license. I'm like, well, I just want to learn about real estate and how to buy and sell, and all I'm learning about is meets and bounds and law and all this unnecessary stuff that I don't how to write up an offer and all this. Again, not really paying too much attention. I'm like, I'm in it now. I might as well just do this. And I always had this entrepreneurial spirit. So I'm like, okay, I'll get my courses done, and then I'll learn about real estate. So I'll be able to identify, this type of course material when I'm out there in the real world. So I go back to high school, and my friend Jeremy says, hey, dude, you finished this course. Why don't you go and talk to my dad, who owns the local Century 21 franchise? And I said, okay, great. I'll go talk to him. He says, that way you can have your license and you can, buy and sell real estate and do all that kind of fun stuff. So I didn't have a car. I walked from high school. I was in my final year. And in those days, it was Ontario Academic Credit, OAC. So I walked down Main Street to Dixon Street, and I go see Mr. Watson, who owned the local Century 21. He said, well, I have a partner. Let me get him in here. And the two of them sort of sat outside for a bit and talked and came in. And Mr. Peace comes in, and they're both older gentlemen. Mr. Peace was probably in his 70s at the time. And he says, look, son, you look like you're 12. This is not a business for young people. Why don't you go back to university for a while, get your courses done, and then come back and see us then, and maybe we'll take you on. And of course, I was disappointed. I said I thanked them. I was waiting for the bus at the bus terminal, and it dawned on me that a friend, my dad's friend, who helped him get his first apartment in 1973 when we first immigrated to Canada from England, had an office just across from the bus terminal. And I said, I wonder if Mr. Maneri is still up there. So I went up the stairs. I missed my bus. So I went up the stairs, knocked on the door, and there he was, 74-year-old, jolly old man, sitting behind a big oak desk. And that was Mr. Maneri. And I introduced myself as Sikander's son. And he said, oh, I remember your father. How are things? And we had a short talk. I said, well, here's the challenge I have. I've got my real estate courses done. I'd like to get my real estate license, but no one wants to license me. He said, well, look, I'm 74. I'm going to retire soon. But if you promise to come in every day after school, I'll license you. And I'll only be open for another 3 to 6 months. But after that, you're on your own. I'm like, done. I'll come and do that.
Finally, you were 18 at this point, or 7? How old were you?
I had taken the courses when I was 17, but I was 18 by the time I had finished.
So he gave you a shot.
He gave me a shot and mentored me, and that was my beginning. And so he stayed open for 2 years instead of the 6 months, and just taught me everything, good values. When you're young and impressionable, learning from a mentor who had just such great values was so important. And I've carried that throughout my life.
Faisal, I would think that he originally said 6 months, but because he probably loved really, training you and mentoring you, maybe that's why he stayed in for 2 years. You ever think of that?
Yeah, we bonded. We had such a great relationship. It was like working with your grandfather. It was an amazing experience. He was the kindest, gentlest gentleman, and certainly really, really missed by me each and every day that I'm in this business.
Yeah, I love that. And so it's funny how many agents would have just perhaps say, listen, I'm going to give up after that first office. But that very same day, you took another shot, didn't you? You didn't go back. You basically went after another opportunity. And that's, it sounded like was the best spot for you anyways, and it all worked out.
It really was. And, just everything just happened to align at the right time. And I'm very fortunate. And I live in gratitude each day for the opportunities that this career has afforded me.
Yeah, Faisal, it's such a great point for agents listening that, when you get a door closed, like that, it doesn't mean no. That just maybe means it's just not the right opportunity. And so like the key there is that Faisal did not give up, and then the right door opened. And so that's where whenever there's a door that closes, just see that, this isn't the right one. But the only time really you get a no is when you stop giving it a shot. You stop trying, right? Very good. So Faisal, you're 18 years old. You just get your ticket. You're really excited. You're willing to work hard. And you got a mentor now, which to me, by the way, when you're interviewing offices, it's so important that you connect with whoever the managing manager is, or the managing broker. Whoever you're going to be reporting to on an ongoing basis, there needs to be a strong connection. You need to be able to look up to them as a mentor so you can learn from them. So that's something that Faisal had from the beginning. And you can see he had determination. He kept going back at it, which I think are two foundational traits that are so important when you start off. Faisal, what else did you do to get this rocket ship off the ground, let's go to the first 3 months. I don't know if you can recall, I know it was a lot of years ago, but what did you do when you first started?
Well, it was 36 years ago. In fact, it was 36 years ago, November 18th. And so it's a very fresh memory in my mind. I will tell you the first 2 months, my first 2 months was documented by a news article. And the local newspaper in Cambridge picked up a story, and they titled it "City Teen Sold on Real Estate," because that first 2 months while I was still in high school, I had the great fortune of being at a fundraising dinner where I met a group of individuals from South Africa. Now remember, I'm still high school. I still am finishing my last year of high school. And this group of gentlemen that I happened to be seated at their table, they asked me, one of the gentlemen asked me what it is that I do. Now, I had two choices. I could have said I'm in high school, I'm a student, but I chose to say I'm a realtor. And that was my first sort of introduction to actually being asked, what do I do? And normally I would say I'm in school, but I don't know what came over me. I said I'm a realtor, and I had a business card, which was kind of like printed at the local Kinko's. And I give this little piece of paper that has my name on it, my phone number on it, and I hand it out to the three gentlemen that were sitting to the right of me. Not really thinking too much of it, but they started talking about how they're from South Africa, and due to apartheid, they've been investing money in Europe, but they're in Canada right now because they're looking at opportunities to invest here. They looked at properties in the GTA and whatnot. And I said, oh, well, if there's anything you need any help with, please let me know. Left it at that. Never thought much of it again. On Monday, when I went back to Mr. Maneri's office, the brokerage office, Mr. Maneri hands me a little pink slip with the name of the gentleman that was at the dinner and said he'd like you to call him because they want to visit here tomorrow morning to see real estate properties, and they're looking at investing. And you mentioned that you could help them. So I called and we booked an appointment for the next day. In that trip, over that 1 week trip that they kept coming each day, between Mr. Maneri and I, we sold to that group over $1.5 million worth of real estate. And I sold a parcel of land in that same time frame for $500,000. So I had sold $2 million worth of real estate in the first 2 months that I was in the business. And in those days, the cooperating commission was 3% to me, which was $60,000. My parents combined were making $45,000 annually. And that's when I went and told my South Asian parents, who thought I would be a doctor, lawyer, or engineer, that I'm not going to university. I've found what I'm going to do for the rest of my life.
Well, and that was huge. I remember my first listing that I got. It was big time, Faisal. It was like $750,000. It was a big time listing. I remember when I called him. It was actually one of Joanna's friends' father. I met him at a party. And we heard through the grapevine he was thinking about selling. So I called him out of the blue, and he's a builder and kind of gruff guy a little bit, and just beautiful guy, but just he knew I was just starting off. And I called him, and I was like shaking on the phone like this. But I ended up getting that, and I double ended it, and like it was massive. That's a whole other story. But the reason I'm sharing that is that $2 million is huge back over 30 years ago. Like that would be, I mean, if you're going to compare it to today, I mean, that's tens of millions of dollars, right?
That's right. Like in those days, in 1988, if you were in the $1 million club, you probably remember these things. Oh, I'm in the $1 million club, or I'm in the $2 million club, or the $5 million club. Like the $1 million club was very rare, and especially in our market where the average price point of a home was $80,000. Yeah. So to be in $1 million club, that means you would have had to have sold $1 million worth of real estate in 1 year. And I was fortunate enough to have that opportunity to do it in the first 2 months. And it just blasted my career, and all of a sudden put me on the map. And everybody wanted to know who this wonder kid was at the age of 18 that's selling real estate all of a sudden. And it was interesting because people wanted to give me business because they wanted to be a part of my journey. And that was, I mean, and I still have many of those clients as close friends of mine.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very easy to cheer for the young buck that is just starting out, that everybody is telling him probably no. It's like, you're so cute, but you're working so hard. It's like, I remember when I was door knocking in the blizzard, people would just be like, oh my goodness. And I remember I got business for years after that because they want to root for the underdog. So I can imagine when you started, there were a lot of people probably like, oh, I remember when I was young and I was trying hard like that. Let's give Faisal a shot. Let's give him a shot.
Absolutely. It was, and 2 years prior to that, I was their paper boy, right? So they're like, we're going to call the paper boy. He's in our neighborhood. He's in our community. Let's give him a shot.
So I want to dissect this, what happened here, because some people will be like, oh, you're just, was lucky because you ended up, connecting with this group and you got some sales. But in reality, you showed up to the event. And in reality, the way that you said what you did, there was probably some element of confidence there that, listen, this is what I do. And you were unapologetic and people liked you as well, which is, relationship building. Do you think you can dissect that a little bit? Is there anything else that kind of comes to your mind as you took an opportunity that some people would say, oh, that was lucky, but you made that opportunity. You showed up and you connected with them. Is there anything that you did and then you obviously delivered as well, but is there anything that you'd say that really helped them make the decision that, let's give Faisal a shot?
Yeah, I think you said it very well. When you're young or when you're new or you look different, don't look at that as something that's negative. Use that to your advantage. Become relatable in some format. Find that common ground with someone. And knowledge is very important. I've said this many times that you don't really strive for success. You attract it. And the way to attract success is by becoming knowledgeable, becoming more attractive to someone in the format that they're looking for that attraction, and being that one thing that they may need. So in that moment, for me to say to them that I'm from Cambridge, there's all kinds of properties for sale, commercial properties for sale, and just giving a little bit of information. And quite honestly, I didn't really know what I was talking about because I didn't know anything about cap rates and ROIs and any of that type of thing. It was just that I knew there were properties for sale in downtown where I was working. If they're looking to invest, I could help them if they were looking for someone to help. And again, I didn't really pay much more attention to that, but I think they were intrigued at the thought that I was this sort of younger kid, that was, taking the initiative to tell them that I would be willing to help them. And our relationship was great. They invited me to South Africa several times, and I visited them. At one time, I was there for 6 weeks, and they were trying to convince me to move to South Africa to handle the real estate portfolio there. And boy, was I ever tempted.
Oh, that's such a amazing story. I was a little older. I was 23 when I started, but I remember there's that initial, we'll say that question mark that's in the back of everybody's mind. Can I really do it? Am I old enough? Are people going to trust me with their most valuable asset? And ultimately, I mean, if you're 18 and you're listening to this, or you're 17 and you're thinking about, getting into real estate and you're having people telling you it's too young, you're too young. I mean, just look at Faisal's track record and what he's doing now. And he started and he put in the work to get there. And ultimately, if you're 18 or 23, the bottom line is this is not rocket science. Like, real estate is very simple. It's not easy though, right? It's simple but not easy. And so you learn as you go along, and you have what it takes, whether you're 18 or 23. I think the biggest thing is the 100-0 mindset. Like, do you take 100% responsibility of everything in your environment? And if you can have that mindset, it really doesn't matter what age you are, as long as you're old enough to get your license, which I believe now it's 18, isn't it, Faisal?
It is still 18. And to your point, it's all about execution. We all have great ideas.
Yeah.
But it's acting on those ideas, being consistent, and then allowing time. So if you can have those three things as part of your mindset, that you're going to take action, you're going to remain consistent and committed to that action, and then you're going to allow the time. I'll give you an example. I had no budget for marketing because I had no money. Yeah. I was borrowing on my mom's credit card to get 300 flyers made because I saw another realtor send out flyers. And my entire campaign was not based on door knocking or cold calls. It was based on direct flyers to mailboxes, 300 homes. It was 11 months before I got my first phone call. Now I listen to agents now saying, "Oh, I sent out 10,000 flyers this month. I didn't get a single call," and then they give up.
Yeah.
It's that consistency, because no one was there to tell me that that's not going to work. So I just kept doing it. And finally, I got that first call. I now send out 23,000 flyers per month consistently. And I'm still getting the results. I'm still this guy in the mailbox. It's branding yourself, and becoming synonymous with your industry. And if you commit yourself to that, we're in such a great industry where we don't have to buy the inventory that we sell. You have a used car lot, you got to buy the cars to sell them. You have to pay interest on that. We have billions of dollars worth of real estate at our disposal that we didn't have to pay to sell, and we earn a commission on that.
That's a really good point. Yeah, the industry is really, it's phenomenal. The thing is you really need to start producing pretty quick because expenses start eating you up. So what Faisal said there about like execution and acting on it and moving quickly, that urgency I found to be really important as well. And like Faisal said, the consistency with those flyers, it took 11 months. So there is you had some faith there, Faisal. 11 months in, being a new agent, like, I guess I'm just going to, and to get to the 11 months, you were borrowing on your parents' credit card, your mom's credit card there to be able to get there. So, there's like, what do you think helped sustain you through those 11 months? Was it just like, I just didn't know any better? Or what do you think kind of helped you through the early struggle phase?
It was just knowing and having that confidence in myself that I'm going to make this work, because too many people had said to me, this is not for you. Yeah. And it was almost like I had something to prove. But I put my head down, and I'm not going to lie. I basically ate dirt for the first year of my business. Like after, I had that great run, and that great run. So I come from a South Asian family. We lived together. I was living at home until I was 30 years old, until I married. And it was one pot. My parents had a mortgage. That $60,000 that I had earned after taxes didn't go into my pocket. It went to help mom and dad pay off their mortgage and whatnot. And as a family, try to come out of this situation where, we were not financially, doing well and whatnot. So I saw it as an opportunity. So it wasn't about, hey, woohoo. Like, we don't see delayed gratification in our lives anymore. It's always instant gratification. You've done well. You want to buy that car. You want to buy that watch. Or you want to buy that purse, or whatever it is that makes you happy. But it's like all the good things come. So, delaying the gratification. So for me, it was more, I know that this is going to work. And where I saw the benefit of it was I saw other realtors doing it and doing very well for a period of time. But then I realized that they were feast or famine. They would do very well in February, March, April, but then they would stop during the summer and go on vacation. And then they would come back and do a little bit more marketing. And then they would stop during the holidays in the winter. And then they would start. And then I thought, okay, they're doing very well in short spurts like this. And I was very much sort of a little bit of a geek. And I was always researching what people are doing and tracking what they're doing. And I didn't create anything. I just started doing what they were doing, but was more consistent in it. And that's where I was able to gain traction. When they were not doing anything, I was filling those gaps.
Again, it goes back to consistency. It's such a powerful principle. Now, Faisal, what would you say from your flyers that you're really big on? That's one of the marketing tactics that you use, that you're very consistent with that for sure. You do that monthly. How has that changed for what you actually put on the flyer when you started till today? Has there been any sort of change in your direction on what you have there, or is it just a simple call to action that you have? Like, what goes on your flyers to be able to make people reach out to you other than consistency?
Right. So in those days, everybody was doing call for free evaluation, right? So I was doing call for free evaluation. Everyone was doing just sold. So I was doing just sold. Everybody was doing just listed. Then I was doing just listeds. So I was doing everything that everybody else was doing, just more consistently. Then slowly I started changing that a little bit by offering something that maybe others were not offering. So again, like the guaranteed sold program that came later on, and I was starting to do that. But I would offer services. Like if you need your home renovated, give me a call. I'll send my crew to help you renovate the house. If you need, so this is evolving as when I started doing well, I was able to give renovation loans. I still do that right now. To help get the house ready, no interest, no payments until the house is sold. They can use their contractor. We pay the bill. So I just came up with very creative ideas. Then when the garbage schedules, the waste collection schedule started changing, I started putting a calendar on there saying, well, this week is garbage week. This week is recycle week. And I would send those flyers out. But the biggest call to action change that occurred for me was actually during COVID. When QR codes became huge, I mean, QR codes were introduced probably 15 years ago to us, and nobody really took on that QR code idea. I started doing that. I would take out, centerfold ads with QR codes, to go to my website, and I wasn't really getting a lot of traction. But COVID created this situation where everybody started using QR codes to look at the menu, to look at, touchless, all that kind of stuff. So I thought, okay, this is a great idea. So my flyers that go out say, scan here for an instant home evaluation. Not call me for a free evaluation. And it says, no spams, no emails, no contact, no phone numbers. I don't need anything from you. You just scan your phone here for a QR code, on my QR code, and I'm going to give you an instant evaluation. And within 24 hours of somebody scanning the QR code, they get a value for their home. And it says, here's what it's worth, in my opinion. But if you want me to give you a specific evaluation, give me a call. I do about 15 evaluations a week. For me to do 422 ends a year, I have to do a lot of evaluations. Out of that, I'm listing between 3 to 5 homes per week based on just that kind of marketing. And we're also doing a lot of different marketing that is not conventional, where we're not spamming the heck out of people and saying, well, give me a call, give me a call, give me a call. It's more, if you want an evaluation, so my client database, if you want an evaluation, market has changed, interest rates have come down, prices are starting to go up. Simply reply with a yes. So I don't need you to say, hi, Faisal, how are you? What are you doing? We don't have to have these fancy conversations. Reply with a yes. You give me a yes, I'm going to give you a price. And we'll keep updating you as long as you tell me not to. So we're just doing things that people want, because with the information age that we have today, people can get just solds on House Sigma or whatever sites that they're on. If they want to see what's listed, they can sign up and get it. So our industry has been very slow to evolve or grasp technology. And that's one thing. I got into the real estate business when fax machines were technology. Okay. So the people that started with me are either dead or out of the business. Right. And because they didn't evolve, they didn't grasp technology, they fought technology, they didn't take and use that for their benefit. So these are some different ways of using AI, whatever you can to give you that little bit of an edge.
Yeah. No, and once you grab onto some of these, it just changes fundamentally how you do your business. AI is one of those things right now. I mean, I think that over time can and will over time be like the internet, but right now you can start with helping you write with the feature sheets, and I find with AI, it's like you got to put in the right initial data, and then you got to finish it up at the end. You can't solely rely on that, but it's getting smarter and smarter now. And I think overall, like you had said there, Faisal, the industry is a little bit slower to pick up, but over time, I do think that's going to be a very strong call to action is the AI side of it, like you had mentioned.
Yeah, and we're also in a very unique environment where, social media, like I use my social media as my CRM. So my client engagement is no longer a newsletter or whatnot. Of course, we have contacts, we send greeting cards, we do all of that other traditional stuff. But my day-to-day engagement with my client is my CRM. When little Johnny gets his first goal at Timbit Soccer, Uncle Faisal saying, way to go, little Johnny.
Yeah.
And you know what? That shows that family that I'm not just there selling their house and forgetting about them. I'm still engaged with them. I'm still personally reacting. And that real time engagement is amazing. I mean, the feedback that I get from that, and just providing video content. So every other day I send out a video. I do a 30-second video, on a hot topic, whatever it is. Now, I'm not getting up every other day and setting up a film crew. I'm doing a bunch of series of these per month, but we're posting every other day, and they're being edited. So I've just taken ways of being very efficient and creating content to give some education and also become that sort of expert in the marketplace in the region that I work.
I like that. From an efficient, you've obviously had to learn to be very efficient. We're going to talk about your schedule in a minute. But I like that idea about the social media, that you're using it kind of as a CRM and an engagement tool. So instead of having to, call each client at the end of the year, it's an ongoing, consistent drip, using a platform, a social platform, to be able to stay in tune with what's going on and connecting with them.
Absolutely, because people today are getting their news, their information, their engagement, everything through social media. They're not, listening to the radio. So if you can appear where people are logging on, you're going to have engagement.
And is it a certain platform you find that is like your go-to? Is it like Facebook, or is there a certain platform, or is it just kind of spread across all the different, many different platforms?
My primary platform is Instagram. And then from Instagram, of course, that gets put onto Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and X as well. So, I'm spreading it out. LinkedIn. All of my educational, sort of informative content goes on LinkedIn as well. I don't spam LinkedIn with just listed, just sold. So I make sure that I'm being very professional on LinkedIn. So you have to understand what the protocols of each platform are. Facebook is interesting. You get a lot of trolling and that type of thing happening on Facebook. Instagram, I find it's great. The engagement is quality engagement, and I quite like that.
Yeah, right on. Do you ever have a client that is not on any of these? They're not on any of the platforms. Like you ask, for to connect with them, and they're not on any of them. And then what do you do with, say, those clients that maybe aren't on social? If there's any of them out there, are there any out there?
Yeah, there are clients that are not, but it is very rare. And often I will ask them. In fact, even in my listing presentation, I have a QR code for them to follow me on the social platforms. But if they're not on there, they usually have someone in their family that is, and I'll always see them following just so that they can, tell grandma what's going on. But I have clients who don't speak English. I have clients that are in their 80s that are still on those platforms. And for those who are not, we're providing an anniversary card on the anniversary of the purchase of their home. We're sending them an email at least every 3 months, just giving them a market update. I'm sending a keeping in touch greeting card, which is handwritten every 6 months to them. I'm sending a Christmas or a holiday card to different communities, depending on which holidays that they're celebrating. So we have a very comprehensive database of who our clients are, what their religious preferences are, etc., so that we can stay in touch with them and make sure that we don't miss an opportunity to greet them in those ways as well.
No, that makes a lot of sense, and you're able to keep a lot of the clients that way. You service them, and they don't just fall off, right? You continue to build a relationship, and then there's referrals that come from that. So that's really smart. And I like the customization as well that you're doing, and the personal touches as well. So here's the big question, Faisal, for you. Doing over 400 sales as an individual agent, and you're waking up every day. You look healthy. You look good as well. It's not like your hair's all over the place. I am freaked out. You hold yourself really well. How do you manage your schedule? Like, give me a typical day of what Faisal's day looks like. Kind of an average day for you.
So I will say this. So I condense my work schedule into 4 days a week where I'm physically present to meet with clients and whatnot. And then there's 3 days that I'm not physically present, but I will clarify that 7 days a week, at least 12 to 14 hours a day, I'm on and I'm engaged. Now, I don't really have schedules as much as I have habits. So when I wake up in the morning, I will take the first hour, and I rise around 7 a.m. So between 7 to 8, I take that 1 hour to just have time for myself. I'll do some reading, have a cup of coffee. If it's nice out, I'll go for a walk. I'm a car guy, so I'll go and shine up my cars. Like I do things that bring joy to me or bring peace to me, non-real estate related. Okay. Just me time, meditation, family time, whatever it is that I am in the mood for that morning. That's what I will do. It's my time, 1 hour. Then at about 8:15, I will start looking at my emails, getting back to the things that I may have missed between, midnight and 8 a.m. A lot of what I'm doing from 9 till about 11 a.m. So I don't take any appointments before 11 a.m. So that's that 9 to 11. I do not take appointments. And the reason for that is my staff, I mentioned four, come into work at 9 a.m. So between 9 to 11, they are asking me questions on evaluations that I'm doing that day, what parameters I need, like anything to do with setting up my day. And my day is typically 11 till about 7 p.m. That's my day of work. So 9 to 11, they're asking me questions. Before I go to bed every night, I purge my brain. Anything I have in my head, I send an email to my office. So follow up on this, follow up on this. Now my office I have strict protocols set up of tasks that they must accomplish every day. In addition to that, I'm dumping other things that I need them to take care of. So all of that happens in the evening. So first thing in the morning, now they may need clarification on things that I have sent to them. So I'm answering those questions and setting up my day. Now from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m., I'm on their schedule. They book where I have to be, what I have to do, who I'm meeting, where I'm going, right down to my haircuts, my dental appointments, whatever. My life is planned by my staff that whole day. They meet me wherever I am, or they drop off. I never go to the office unless I have a meeting. Everything's dropped off to me, so I'm not running around chasing. I got to go pick up a file. I got to pick up a listing. Nothing. Anything I need is delivered to me where I am. So I've got a system where I've just lowered my stress, where I'm not ever feeling flustered that I've got to get here, get there. I've got too much on my plate. So I try to keep my stress levels very low by delegating all the tasks that are not important for me to do to be done by others.
Got it. So from 11 till what time do you normally pack it in at night, or does it really matter? Does it depend on, is there an offer that's coming in and you need to deal with it? Like, what does that look like we'll call it when you close the store?
So Mondays to Thursdays, my offer schedules are, so I always have an offer date. I never have just, send in an offer whenever you feel like it, unless we've gone beyond, the listing period where we have to have open offers. So it's Monday to Thursday, 2 p.m. is submission time for all offers. That allows me to have my staff available to coordinate, give me summaries, review the offers, make sure that everything makes sense, and give me do all the work so that I can have a proper look at the offer that I need to deal with. It also gives the agents an opportunity to get to the bank, get my deposit checks in, because I don't like to wait till the next day for the bank draft to come in. So they're doing all of that kind of stuff. My evaluations are throughout the day, and usually my last home evaluations is at 6 o'clock. But if somebody wants to see me at 8:30 or 9 o'clock, I'm available, provided it's Monday to Thursday. If it's Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, I'm not available to meet in person with anyone unless it's an emergency. Then usually on Sunday, I will come back so I have a cottage in Blue Mountain. So I'm usually there from, Thursday evening, in the winter, especially Thursday evening to Sunday afternoon. And I work from there and whatnot. So I'm not accessible physically, but if somebody really needed to see me on a weekend, then I'll come back at 4 p.m. on a Sunday and meet with them. And then Sunday evenings I go to my parents' house for dinner.
Got it. And so if there's a buyer, because you still work with some buyers as well that they're
Yes.
listening and they're buying with you, and they're like, listen, we're coming in, we need to be looking at homes Friday, Saturday. I know some agents are thinking this right now, so I got to ask the question, like,
Yes.
what do you do in those scenarios? Is there another agent that helps fill in on those days, or how do you handle that situation?
Yeah, I have, there are 4 agents. They're independent. I don't have a team. They have their own business. In fact, they're my competitors in my business. They have buses and billboards and all of that but they're excellent agents who are doing well, but want to do better. And they're highly motivated and ambitious agents. So I will refer buyers to those agents. Now, if it's my client that I have listed their home and they are a buyer as well, I'm actually showing them that home. And the understanding that I have with some of these agents is there will be times that I'm not able to get back from the cottage, or I'm just simply not available. So I need you to help me out on that. And they just help me out as a favor. I don't take advantage of it in the sense that, hey, I'll just go away and let them deal with it. So I'm very much hands-on. I don't let go of my personal clients. If somebody new calls me today, says, hey, we're going to be here on the weekend, there's 12 houses we want to see, that automatically I just refer to the agent that specializes in that area. Like I said, I'm in the Tri-Cities. It's no different than me referring somebody to Hamilton or Toronto or Wasaga.
Faisal, the biggest thing that I see with you, I mean, super likable guy. If you're watching this, you'll see what I'm talking about, and you just listen to his voice, like very trustworthy and just a really down to earth, great guy. But one of the things that Faisal, and strong on marketing as well, but one of the things that Faisal has that's very clear is that he has a system for everything. He's very structured, because if you're doing hundreds of sales a year, like the most that I did as an individual with an assistant was 150. So I did that. I was working with buyers and sellers, and we were doing 1,000 sales as a team, but I was doing a lot. And I knew at that level that I needed to have a system. Every time I walk in for a listing appointment, I knew everything was prepped. I could go in and there was a system to executing. There was a system to after I took the listing, and then there was a system after that as well. The only way you can operate the next level is to have a set process, or at least a methodology, like here are the 10 steps that I do every time. Because Faisal, I could imagine, like, if you didn't have all that, you'd probably be forgetting things left, right, and center, and then you'd have upset clients, right?
Absolutely. And we have programs. We use ClickUp, which is a reminder system, time management system, who's doing what task, where they are at that task. Is it still in progress? Has it been completed? Has it been deferred? And all of us have this chart that we can reference at any time to see who's working on what. And there's a report that comes out every month on that. There's a task list that comes out every week. So yeah, systems are so important. Having it written down, a lot of times people will say, oh, my assistant's not doing their job. It's not the assistant that's not doing their job. It's you that hasn't given them proper instruction and direction and accountability. And if you can get that all in line, I have a dream team of assistants. Like, I wouldn't be able to function the way I do. Jennifer's been with me for 22 years. Alicia's been with me for 9 years. I have property managers that are on staff. I have a social media person. I have my listing coordinator. I have my life coordinator, who's Jennifer. She does everything, administration, just to keep me on track.
Yeah, that's great. That's really great. I can totally see how, if once you do all this, I mean, you're dialed in from a day to day, how that would affect your business in a positive way. Now, Faisal, is there anything that you systemize personally? So you do this all for the business, but is there anything that has this bled through on the personal side that you've systemized that maybe our agents can take advantage of that are listening?
I learned at an early age that my real estate license was not just for listing homes and selling homes and working with buyers and sellers. I wanted to learn very early on how to monetize this license. How do I take this license and use it to create wealth, to create other streams of income, to create a bigger sort of portfolio than just being a salesperson? And what I did was, very early on, I started partnering with developers, builders, investors. Even if it meant 5%, I'll take an ownership of 5% in something. I took that. Number one, it got me in the door in that circle. Number two, it got me retention of that client. That I'm going to be with that client for a long time because now I'm a partner with them. They're not going to use another agent. I created a property management business as well. We have 126 properties under property management. That is a great source of revenue. It takes care of a lot of my overheads, but it's a client retention tool. If I'm managing 126 properties for my portfolio, they're not going to list those 126 properties with somebody else. They're going to come back to me because I know the tenants and I work with them. Builder sites, where I'm syndicating, I'm holding land, assembling land personally, bringing builders in, letting them do the build out, joint venture, then coming back on the sales side. So I always stay in my lane. I've never diverted. I don't put a builder hat on, say I'm going to be a builder now, or I'm going to be a GC now. I've always been the sales guy. And I don't become competitor with my bread and butter. Those people are feeding me. I'm going to feed them, and together we're all going to have a feast.
It makes so much sense. So that's just very smart. You're seeing kind of the overall picture here, and how can I you're building relationships across the board, and you're using the investment vehicle to help do that. That makes a lot of sense. Now, for say real estate investing, so is that something that the development deals that are coming along, is there any other type of real estate investing that you've done over the years that's benefited you?
Yes. So, with projects, and I have said this to a lot of agents that are saying, well, we can never get a builder or what, like, if I like a project, I'll buy into it myself personally. So I'll buy a unit. Now I've gained the builder's loyalty because they know I'm loyal to the project because I've got skin in the game now. So it's something as simple as that. On a completely different side, I do a little bit of venture capitalism. So I'm investing in real estate related startups. Software companies, property management companies, real estate, AI companies. So I've taken a real interest in, I believe in diversifying. I believe in having many different ways of, not having all your eggs in one basket, essentially. And that has allowed me to sort of, get really excited about implementation of technology. And I love what our industry can do using AI and using other tools that are out there, and just being a part of that movement, because traditional real estate will change. Look, there will never be, we're very fortunate. We're in an industry, and travel agents hate this when I say this, but travel agency, you can go online and do your whole thing and you don't need a physical travel agent anymore. But real estate is a little bit different than that. You're always going to have to be there personally to open a door, to hand over things, and just sort of physically be there because it's a tangible product that we're selling. But AI can complement that. And a lot of these new startups, these young people that are coming into it, they're coming, like, you could be on the phone with somebody using AI and answering questions with your voice. I mean, the technology is just mind boggling as to what's available out there right now and the implementation of that. So I'm excited about that part of the business now.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think Gary Keller talks about that it's going to be a technology, agent powered by technology, and that's where it's a combination of both is where we're going. And the real estate investing side, Faisal, I'm really happy to hear that you've really taken hold and you're actually investing in the stuff that we're selling. And Faisal, that's probably one of the biggest regrets that I hear, and you probably hear this a lot from real estate agents, is I wish I would have bought more. Oh, I wish I would, I sold a lot of real estate, I should have bought more. And I just look at, 90% of millionaires use real estate to get there. So that's where I'm always encouraging, like we have agents on our team that, they've sold a lot of properties, but where they really made their money was investing in real estate along the way. And it was the same with my story as well. Like we made, but I invested along the way. And the biggest thing that I see today is where it's like, oh, everything is too expensive. Well, the reality is that I think in 10 years, we're going to be looking back at today and saying everything was so cheap. Just like 10 years ago, we were thinking it was expensive. You remember that 10 years ago? I overpaid. I went 5,000 over asking.
Yep.
Right? And
yeah, I've never looked back 5 years and said, I'm glad I didn't buy back then. I've always looked back and said, I always had I bought my first investment property with 2 high school friends at the age of 19. The 3 of us still own that property. It's the biggest lemon ever, but we love it because it's part of our sentimental journey of real estate. Yeah. But 20% of my income always went towards investment. Smart. And one interesting, and I write about this in my book as well. One interesting fact, and while I was writing the book back in 2020, I kind of did a net worth calculation. And one of the interesting facts was that if I count every single dollar that I have made in the past 36 years of being in this business, my real estate portfolio is 1.5 times my earnings.
Yeah.
So it's as if all the money I've ever made, I've never spent a penny, plus have 50%, and I have this beautiful life that I'm blessed to have and live. All because of this career, and all because I took advantage of the opportunity. We see the opportunities first. So take advantage of those opportunities. Invest in it. If you're going to tell people to invest, you make sure you've done it first.
Yeah. And you just nailed on a really good point. Is I've told agents, like, if you want to go and dominate a neighborhood, you want to go buy a house there, right? Go. It's just somehow everything gets attracted to you once you buy in. And it's the same with an investment property. If you want to work with an investor, if you own an investment property, it's just like the law of familiarity, right? People are like, oh, okay, I own, you own, okay, we're of this cut of the same cloth. And you get to know it better so you can have a deeper conversation. So I totally agree with you on that. Right on.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is where, when I introduce somebody to a new project, we've been very successful. I have a project in Kitchener and one in Waterloo. Our entire region has been flat in sales. We have sold over 60% in each of these projects within 1 year. Simply because when I introduce it to my clients, first of all, the track record, they've always made money. But when I introduce a project to that client, when they ask me, how about you? I'm like, I've already bought 2 in here.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to put my money somewhere where I don't feel confident. And I'm not going to introduce you to something that I'm not willing to put my money. So that in itself, but the return on that investment, just buying those 2 units, it's going to be tenfold by the time I sell those units. So there's always value in putting skin in the game.
100%. And I believe that makes you, what makes you the best salesperson, what I found is like 50% of it is believing in what it is you're selling, right? And buying into the project, I mean, that says everything, right? You put your own skin in the game on that end. But this even actually ties together really well with agents when they start. The biggest thing you can do to get really good at to sell more real estate is to improve your services, improve your skill sets so that you believe more in what you're actually delivering, the service that you're delivering. Because if you think you're giving subpar service, people are going to smell that and you're just not going to be as good of a salesperson, right?
Yeah, and be present, be attentive. It's like, sadly, in our industry, there comes a time when ego starts taking over and if you remain humble, stay in touch, be grounded, be really personable with your clients and really genuinely care about the advice you're giving them, that is going to go so far, and that will speak to the longevity that you have in this career.
Yeah, no, for sure, Faisal. And that's, thinking about it now, I mean, even with our investment firm, like we participate personally in every deal as well. So I totally agree with that. And then it spills over, as we were just talking about, in the overall service side of it as well. You got to believe in what you're selling, 100%. Faisal, this, I could just talk to you for hours. I mean, just likable, but obviously there's professionalism and then there's a real talent that you have as well. But we got to move on here. We got an hour. We got to keep this under. So you ready for the next part of the conversation here? We got the three questions that we're going to go into at this point. You ready for them?
All right, let's go.
Yeah, here's rapid fire. We got, other than your own book here, which is great. If you haven't picked it up, make sure you go pick this up here. It's called The Real Deal. But Faisal, what is your favorite book that's made the biggest impact in your career?
You know, there's a book by, it's called The Compound Effect. Have you heard of this book?
Hardy,
Great
right?
book, great book. Yeah, great book. It's a short read, but it speaks to becoming relatable and becoming that sort of core individual. And when you become the core, be that core. And that's a big takeaway from that book that I had.
Love that. Love that. All right. 3 words to describe you of your closest circle that know you really well. What would the 3 words be that they describe you as?
Blessed, grateful, and quirky.
Right on. Very, very cool. And last question is, what advice would you give to our listeners who are perhaps just starting out in real estate?
If you have an idea, execute on it now. Don't worry about all the other stuff. All the other stuff will get attracted to you if you live, breathe, sleep that idea and execute on it. You will always attract the right things towards you.
Great advice from a real legend in the business. Faisal, thank you so much for today. Thanks for coming on the show.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on, Mark.
All right, for all the listeners there, appreciate you guys a lot. If you like the show, please share it. Subscribe to the channel as well. And let's continue to build a community of full out real estate agents together. I love you guys and keep on going full out.